Today in the studio, folks, I got a real treat for you. Brian Deegan. Folks, this dude's the pioneer in action sports, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. As one of the first guys to help create the sport of freestyle motocross, bring it to X Games, and we really ran from there. So it blew up once it hit action sports.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that know who you are. I'm just making sure all my listeners do. If you guys don't know who he is, look him up on Instagram at Brian Deegan38. At Brian Deegan38. And by the way, it's Deegan. Now, for those of you that don't know this dude, you've been racing shit since you were a kid.
Yeah, so I grew up in Nebraska, small town. My dad was a superintendent of the school system. My mom, they split early. My mom took off at a young age, and my dad raised me. And my neighbor moved in with a dirt bike, and once I saw that, I just fell in love with it. And he took me to the races, and it was a whole different world. And I actually begged my dad for a dirt bike. He said, no way. And he said, if you can earn it. So I went and got a paper route and did a paper route for, a long time till I could get enough money to buy a dirt bike. And then my neighbor pretty much brought me with him to the races, and I saw that as my avenue. I was like, this is my avenue out of this small town.
And dude, you've won like everybody in the sport knows who you are.
Yeah, I think I've won the most X Games medals, as far as our sport goes. And I was the first one to do a 360 on a dirt bike, which is at the LA Coliseum, sold out crowd, big moment. There's a long story behind that, but yeah, it's the first one to do that trick. And, where like say Pastrana was the first one to do a double backflip. And, it's just the way the sport goes. If you're the first one to land it, you get to claim it. So get to claim that one.
So that's yours?
And that's mine.
Now, it says you're powered by Monster Energy.
Yes. Monster Energy has been a sponsor of mine since day one. It used to actually be called Hanson's Energy back in the day. And long story short, I was that kid from Nebraska. I raced supercross and motocross. I, won a supercross, go rode my bike over the finish at LA Coliseum, and kind of walked away from the sport because I was a privateer. I won on a bike I bought at the shop. A lot of things that would never be done again today. And I walked away from the sport to start freestyle motocross with a couple buddies. And that sport started taking off, and I saw the crowds and the cameras, and ESPN jumped on it. And I had no sponsors. I had no money, like nothing. Like basically I was a privateer, sleeping on my buddy's floor when I first started, and I went to X Games. I just saw the value that was everywhere. And so I said, okay, here we go. We had Travis Pastrana was the good guy, goody two-shoe dude, and we were the bad guys. We were the rebel dudes, and then wearing the all black and the spikes and heavy metal, and that was our style back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and it blew up. Our crew was called the Metal Militia, and at that point, we had the owner of Hanson's Energy at the time came to me at it was at X Games in San Francisco. He's like, how would you like to be sponsored? Could I sponsor you and put our logos on your bike? At the time, I was like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't into the corporate thing, kind of anti-corporate guy. And he's like, well, we could pay you like $2,500 a month. And I was like, what? I was like, that was big time at the time, And I was like, all right, cool. So I went and had a meeting with him. Is Hanson's Energy. And I ran that.
You're talking about Hanson's. The old Hanson's.
The old Hanson's health drink, kind of healthier.
It had the Hanson's that went up the side, just said Hanson's.
Yep, green can.
I'll be damned.
Yep.
See, I never knew that.
Yeah. That was
so
actually
taste turned into Monster?
Yes. Well, what happened was the guys who created Hanson's, we went in there, and that was the energy drink they had at the time. That was before really all energy drinks. And that actually was probably the best tasting one. And so I put that logo on my bike and ran that for a year. And then they thought, okay, Hanson's is not really tough enough for this sport, like the image. And then they started talking to me, and we were in meetings with Mark Hall, one of the owners, and we started coming up with these ideas, the claw, and he laid out a bunch of different cups. We were taste testing different drinks. He's like, what do you think of these names like Monster and, the Beast, all this stuff? And I was like, man, that's cool, a lot cooler than Hanson's, And so I was sitting there in those meetings and ran with it. And he said, okay, let's print. We printed the graphics, Monster Energy Claw. At the time, it was like purple or off green. And then we put it on my dirt bike for X Games. And that was around the time I had, just met Jesse James and was building a relationship with him, and he was helping me with my bike. So a lot of stuff was coming together that was really cool. And that was really the launch of Monster. I was the first athlete at Monster, and went out there and did X Games, and then Jesse James started customizing my dirt bikes. And
did Monster Energy start selling the shit out of it
as
soon as they changed the name?
Yes. It was a lot of mistakes in my career, live and learn in business, but they blew up. They just started blowing up because they jumped on it early. Mark Hall always had the vision of things before they would happen, and he jumped on that before it blew up.
Did you negotiate a piece for yourself?
That's where I get back to live and learn process. I was a young kid with not a lot of business sense, and I was chasing the dollar, and I had this small crew of guys called the Metal Militia, and I said, well, can you sponsor my buddies, and that's just like right off the bat. And they're like, well, we have enough budget to sponsor you. And I was like, oh, so of course everyone was talking to us, and that was when No Fear Energy was there. It just came in. No Fear. You remember that energy drink?
I remember the name No Fear, but not the energy drink.
Yeah. So No Fear came in, and they said, okay, we'll pay you guys whatever you want. So we're like, wow, it's a big deal for me. And then, it's like, they said, we'll sponsor all your riders. And at the time, Monster was offering, they said, okay, like stock options and this, that. But to me at the time, I didn't even know what that was really or care. And I was like, and I looked back and I left and went to No Fear for, whatever, probably a couple $100,000 more or whatever. It was like, at the time was a big deal to me. But I was like the worst decision business wise. I'll never forget that decision.
Well, in hindsight, it's easy to tell, but Monster could have went out of business. You didn't know that they were going to become a monster.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know. And luckily, go ahead.
I was going to say, because I don't hear of No Fear anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That was once again part of the live and learn process. And No Fear.
But you're back with Monster.
So I'm back with Monster.
I'm surprised they took you back.
I know. But
if I was Mark, I'd have said, no, son.
Yes,
you're already tainted.
Yes. So
you went somewhere else.
The good thing is Mark Hall has always been. We always had a relationship. Like we're always friends, And I think that's if one thing I could tell any youth, coming up is that it was so key for me to have relationships with my sponsors. And we were friends, so it was very hard for me when I left. But he understood. He's like, hey, money's money. And so the point is I went through another relationship. Rockstar Energy came to me, and when No Fear was going down, Rockstar jumped on our crew because the militia was blowing up. Our clothing line was blowing up. It was going all through.
I even remember that, and I wasn't a skater or freaking biker or nothing.
Yeah. So
I remember the Metal Militia.
Do you remember? All right. So it was big out in this area, in this SoCal area, but it started going into Tilly, Zoomies, PacSun, all the mall stores. I mean, it was blowing up. So Rockstar jumped on it, and we did a lot of collabs together. So I ran with that for probably 6-7 years. Rockstar paid me a ton of money, and we did a lot of racing and won a lot of championships.
Did you get a piece of that?
And no, the owner of that was a little tighter than the other guy.
Why you keep helping blow up companies and not getting a piece?
It took me a while to figure out that you should get a piece of the action. That wasn't until later in life when I started building my own brand and athletes were asking me for a piece of my company. I was like, Then I started figuring it out. Okay, this is why companies are paying me a bunch of money to put their sticker on me, is because I'm building their brand. So I'm like, man, I need to get a piece of that. So yeah,
Rockstar. Imagine if you could go back.
I know.
And make the deal knowing what you know now.
I did.
Now, you could have also blown the deal.
Mm-hmm.
You could have also blown the deal. So you never have to worry about what could have been. Yeah. But it is fun to go back and think, man, just imagine if I'd have negotiated and they'd have said yes.
Yeah, I would have made a few key decisions, and I'd probably be at my final goal of getting a private jet. I'd probably have that by now.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because back then, Monster Energy was, Hanson's was pretty big, weren't they?
Yeah, it was big, but they were bigger in like the natural drink space.
But isn't Monster bigger than Hanson's?
Oh, way bigger. Monster's like...
Yeah, so I didn't want a piece of Hanson's. I want a piece of this new one we're making.
And it would have been so easy in the beginning because they were so it was just starting. They were asking my opinion on so much stuff. And they were stoked that I was going to do it. As an athlete, they were happy that I was into it. And man, I know, I look back at it, I'm like, oh man. But then walking away from the stock options was probably one of the dumbest mistakes in my life, but it is what it is.
So, yeah, but nowadays, you win a medal every year or something?
Yeah, so at X Games, I never missed X Games, and I got hurt a lot. I had a lot of injuries, over 15 surgeries. I lost a kidney, spleen, almost died a few times, riding from crashing. Yeah. So
do you have to crash to get good?
Yes, you do. And so back when freestyle motocross started, the guys learning backflips and the 360s and double backflips, that was...
So you had to have straight up balls.
Yes, you had to be really dumb or like really crazy. And I always thought about that because I'm a thinker, and I go and sit at the roll-in at X Games before, they'd be like, all right, you're live TV, roll in and do your run or your trick. And I'd be sitting there looking at the audience. There'd be like 50,000 people, cheering. I'd be the guy getting ready to roll in, and I'd be like, why am I the guy here? Why am I this guy and not the guy in the crowd, And I mean, what separates that? I think about that a lot, but I mean, maybe it's just, like I said, our ability to block out our fear. I feel like I have fear. I get scared. Like when I'm up there, I'm nervous, but when I was younger, I really I just loved the excitement, the attention, the hype of the crowd, and the ambulance was there, the cameras are there. So I'm like, if I crash, it's going to be on TV. It's going to be cool either way, So, and the ambulance is here. So at least I got help pretty quick, where a lot of times we'd do tricks out at our jump parks where there was no medics there. It was just me and my buddies learning tricks at our house. We had ramps at our house, and anyway, yes, you have to crash you don't want to crash. That's not the plan, but to progress, you are pushing that level.
Okay, so knowing that and teaching your kids to do it, didn't you know they're going to break bones?
Yes. So I've always been against my kids doing freestyle motocross, right now, my daughter Haley, she started with dirt bikes a little bit to learn the basics of how to shift and clutch and all that. And then we put her into a race car, into karting. Because I figured for a girl,
you don't get as hurt doing that, do you?
No. The injuries, knock on wood, Haley's raced, 10 years plus.
Damn.
And never broke a bone, never had an injury. She's been in some fires. That's the scary part of car racing. You get in fires, but she's had some close calls with that. But anyway, she took that path, which I think was smart for a female.
I'm surprised that you let them.
Yeah. So I guess my mentality is the levels of, I try to, mitigate the levels of danger. And I feel like racing dirt bikes is not freestyle motocross. Freestyle is dangerous because you're pushing the level every time. But in motocross, you're not supposed to crash. You're supposed to be, have good style, and it's the bike equipment matters, the team, all that. So now I always put my son Hayden, who's one of the best riders in the world at his age, always in the best equipment, the best positions. And he's raced since he was 6 years old. He's 16 now, and he broke a collarbone. That so far has been his extent, knock on wood again. But yeah, he's had a good run, and because we do it the right way. Think about football. Think about kids coming through football.
Well, dude, I don't let my kid ride a skateboard.
Really? No? Well, did you ever do any action sports stuff?
Yeah, I mean, not extreme. You call them action sports. I call them extreme. Okay.
Yeah.
Flipping motorcycles, doing double, what do you call it? Loops?
Double backflips.
Yeah, double backflips. Yeah. That ain't action, dude. That's extreme. Okay. Yeah. Action is riding the dirt bike.
Yeah. I think that's
racing it.
Yeah, I think it's what they called in the beginning. They used to call X Games extreme games. I think that's what it started as. Yeah.
Well, I thought that's what the X was for.
Yeah, well, I guess. Yeah.
But dude, no, if I think my little girl's gonna, step on the skateboard, slip and fall down and bust her elbow,
no go.
I just say get off the skateboard.
Okay.
Which is probably not the right thing to do, but I just can't. I can't imagine letting her break her leg or break her arm.
Yeah, I understand that because that instinct does come in me, where I think about that. Now my kids are training. I always my phone rings, and if it's someone that's with them, I always cringe. I'm like, that phone call, that of your son broke his arm, broke his leg, or even worse, I've seen some really, really gnarly stuff throughout my life with friends, best friends. I've lost a lot of friends, but it's always been in freestyle motocross,
What's your worst injury?
My worst injury was I was shooting the show called Viva La Bam back in the day with MTV, and I was supposed to do a backflip over the band of Guar while they were playing at the end of the scene, and this really, really windy day, like crazy 40, 50 mile per hour crosswind. And I'm like, all right, go. I'm like, dude, it's so windy, you can barely stand up. And they're like, go, go, go. Like they were filming, and I was like, all right, let's go. And I went and hit the ramp, backflipped and under rotated the flip, and the handlebars went in my stomach. Like I under rotated the flip and drove the front end right into the landing, like kind of came up short. And so just under rotated the backflip, and the bars went into my stomach like really, really hard, and it blew up my internals, basically blew up my spleen and my kidney. I felt like I got shot in the stomach with a shotgun. Super hot, burning pain. I fell on the ground. I was like, you try to get your wind back, get knocked out. And I couldn't get my wind back, and I just got worse and worse and worse. And my stomach started growing really big, and then they had no ambulance on the set, which was really bad.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. I figured that out too late. So I said, call an ambulance, because I knew I've been hurt a lot. This is bad. And it took them almost 30 minutes to get an ambulance there. And I had tore my kidney off from my artery. And so the clock was ticking, and a fire truck came, and I said, dude, put me in the fire truck. At this point, I'm barely staying awake, my skin's starting to turn yellow. And I get in the ambulance or the fire truck. I'm like, dude, just get me to the hospital, and I'm like, this point, I'm falling asleep. And so I started chewing my tongue to stay awake, because seriously, I'm like, I know what's going to happen. I'm like, I'm going to freaking die. I remember telling my friend, I'm like, dude, I think I'm going to die, And so I take me to the hospital, pull in. Right when I get in, all the doctors are waiting. They pull up and they check my pulse, and they're like, he has a very light pulse in emergency surgery. And went in, and the doctor, I'll never forget, leans over, looks at me as this Indian doctor, and he's like, is there anything you want to tell your family? He's like, I'm going to do everything I can. You have a very light pulse. He's like, we're going to go in and see what's going on. And I was like, whoa. It's like, it hit me. That's what it was like. It hit me super hard. And that was like a major life-changing moment for me, And so, yes, that was my worst injury by far. And I just remember praying before I went under. I was like, please, God, just let me live through this. And at the time, I just had Haley, my daughter, and I was like, and I we were still living a wild lifestyle, and I was like, I will change. I'll never be bad again, please. I was just like, became very real, And I just remember going under and waking up, and I had tubes everywhere, and I was like, yes, I'm alive. And that was like, from that moment, I'm just like, all right, I gotta go down the right path. And that was a big turning point for me, for sure, on that injury.
So you didn't have any injuries after that?
No, I had broken bones and stuff, but
you kept going.
Yeah, I kept going. I
thought you promised God you wouldn't.
Yeah, I know. I promised. Well, let's just say at the time I was still, doing the Metal Militia freestyle motocross thing, and we were traveling the world, getting paid a bunch of money to go do shows all over the world, and it was a rock star lifestyle, and I had my daughter, and it was time for me to change. It was really time for me to just be full focused on family, and it took that to kind of do it, that's life, man. It kicked me in the nuts, and I was like, all right, cool, I got it. But I still competed, because I had to, that was my way of, making a living and, making money. And
how much money does it make you?
It makes as much as you want, as far as, it's like any athlete, how much do you want to market yourself? And that's what action sports is. I built a character and an image, and I was able to parlay that into products, such as the clothing brand. I was really big into building a name in marketing and licensing. I never really liked making products. I don't like making things. I like putting my name on things and doing contracts and collecting, licensing fees. That's what I, became really good at. And so at the time, you definitely, it's a 7-figure game for sure. If you're at the top, if you're, top 3 guy and you're marketing it right. Some of them, I'm sure 8 figures, like Tony Hawk obviously hit it out of the park.
Yeah, he did it well.
He did it well. He was
a skateboarder.
But one of the originals, and he did a very good job of marketing himself and meeting the right people and building the right products. He had this video game is what put him over the top. And if you watch his documentary, he had a lot of ups and downs. He went from the top to the bottom many times, but never gave up. And the video game put him over the top. And I got a video game deal later in the game, but I didn't. I was just a character in an EA Sports game. It was like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, so he did it right.
Damn, dude. Do you wish you could go back and do it over?
I would definitely have done a few things different, but man, to be honest, like, dude, I made millions of dollars in the sport, and, you know, my brand did too. And the only thing, I don't know, there's a few things I probably would have done differently for sure, you know, but I feel I'm pretty happy to still be alive, healthy. You know, I've done fine. I've done good. You know, I feel like I'm just really turning the chapter on business right now that I've studied it. I study a lot of business stuff right now, and I'm just trying to figure out what I do with the money I got. Where am I going with this, and how can I parlay it? I'm still young, I feel like, in the business world.
We'll build a brand.
Yes. So and that's what we've done with the Deegan brand. With, you know, we have, you know, which Haley, my daughter, does NASCAR, and my son does Supercross. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to invest back in my family. And that's what I did. And we have, you know, I have a lot of products. I have Jeep and truck products. You know, if you search, you know, the Deegan name under parts, you'll find a bunch of products. We do a lot of stuff. Or
just go to shopdeegan38.com.
Yeah. And that's kind of the mothership, I'd say, the spot where we go. But nowadays, everything's on social. You know, we have a big YouTube channel that we focus on, and it covers our family. And
that's the Deegans?
The Deegans, yeah. And that does pretty good.
Guys, go check out the Deegans on YouTube. You put up a lot of content.
A lot of content. We have, I have 3 full-time filmers and editors that work nonstop. They help me with my social. I check all my social, like I'm sure you do, but you need help with that stuff. Like,
dude, I'm just starting to need it.
Yeah.
And I don't want it.
Oh yeah, I know. I get it.
I'd rather nobody answer than
Really?
Someone else.
That's how my son is. Cause my kids, I don't let them, like, probably shouldn't say this, but I don't really let my kids run their social accounts, you know, cause I feel like they're athletes, they're focused, they have great futures, they're going to make tons of money. I'm like, dude, you don't need to be on the social network. It's
well, whatever you're doing is working. They're champions.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, that's the hardest fight I've fought in my life, is just trying to keep your kids on track, keep them focused.
How do you do that?
You just got to be around a lot. You can't let anyone else do it. That's what I learned. Like, once I let my kids go off on their own, man, it's not good. It's not good, man. You gotta be there and do it yourself. I haven't seen any other way to do it, you know? So, and it's worked for me, because I'm a motocross guy. So for me to train my son to be a motocross champion, that was no brainer.
Do you think you could train other people's kids to do it?
I've thought about that. I've had people offer me, like, money to train their kids, you know, and I'm like, man, I got time. I go, and the money you'd have to pay me, you wouldn't want to do it, you know?
It'd be ridiculous.
It'd be ridiculous, yeah. And I could do it. You know, I could do it. You know, like I said, I love training. I get up, you know, every day, go running, I work out. I love working out. I love eating right. I love studying that game. Love everything about it. So yeah, I think I could train kids to be champions 100%, but that's not my focus right now besides my kids, you know? So
what is your focus right now? Like, what do you want to happen?
My focus right now is really like Hayden, like Haley, starting with Haley. She's 21 now. So, you know, for 10 years, I took her to the track and informed her and showed her how to do marketing, how to talk, how to, you know, be interviewed, all those things. And she got a lot of good brand deals, and I handed down the monster deals and all of my partnerships, you know, to her. And she, you know, I was with Ford for a long time, still am. And so I walked her into that and many deals, and, she took off, and she's the fastest girl in NASCAR right now. And so that was my first deal that I had to make sure she got to a really good team. So she got with the Ford team, is doing really well, and said, okay, now Hayden, you know, which I still was always with Hayden, working on him, but I had to take a step away from full time with him to get Haley to where she was. And then now I'm with, you know, focus on Hayden, which he's 16 years old. He'd been with KTM for 10 years. Then we ended up going to
KTM.
KTM's a motorcycle brand.
I know what it is. Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because I think we're working or going to try to be working with KTM. Mm-hmm. That's a coincidence.
Yeah, they're good. KTM's a great brand. They helped us a ton. Their offices were right down the street from us when I lived in Temecula, down in, you know, Southern California. And
well, if I need you to drop your name to close the deal, I'm going to.
Yeah, it could work. I left on good terms, you know, like we were with them a long time, but the story was we built Hayden up to be the number one kid. And right when he was turning pro, I said, guys, we need to build this pro-am program that takes the youth up to the pro ranks and helps make the next step, because it's a huge step from amateur to pro in dirt bikes. So they didn't really have that program that I thought was good enough, but Yamaha did. So we ended up going to all the teams, they all have training facilities, like football training facilities, basically, where these kids go and they take them in and train them to be the best pros. So we went and visited all those facilities.
How do you get in there as a kid?
Very, very tough. Only a few kids get selected. Only maybe 1 or 2 a year out of the thousands.
Are there scouts looking for them?
Yes. So it'd be like scouts, like from the teams are watching them. So
they're out these local races seeing kids tear it up.
Yep, amateur.
And then they're like, look at that little son bitch running around fast.
Yeah, exactly that. And KTM has a great amateur program, so they have their scouts, which they found Hayden when he was 6. And then they put him on the team at 6. And so anyway, they built him all the way to 15, 16, but they didn't have the program I thought was good enough. So I did all the meetings, and I know everyone in motocross. So it's, it was pretty easy for me to put Hayden, get the meetings with the best team. I guess, what's the best team in pro football right now? What'd you say?
Now?
Yeah.
The Bills, maybe?
I think the Bills. I guess I don't know why I always go back to the Patriots, but
they're not.
No, they're not. Okay. I don't watch a ton of football, but my point is, it'd be like getting your kid on the Bills or something. Like the team I put
you can
them
use Patriots because they've been champs for so long.
That's what I'm saying.
Not this particular moment.
Okay, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. So
yeah, the Patriots is a good one.
The most dominant team with the most championships, Patriots, I'd say. But Hayden was I needed to put him on the Yamaha team. It's Monster Energy Star Yamaha. It is the best lights team. In motocross, you have lights and 450. There's 2 classes. The youth starts with the lights, and that's where you go first. It's in, the Supercross and the stadiums. And anyway, I got him with the best team with the most championships. It was a lot of meetings, but I mean, they pay pretty good to, like, Hayden was a hot commodity. He was like you'd say first draft pick kid, in the sport, and we put him at the best team. And that it takes knowing people, but it really takes speed. The kid just has to be fast. I mean, it's like probably like football.
And I think does the speed come with the equipment, or does the speed come with the balls?
Yeah. So in motocross, like NASCAR racing, I would say it's about 70-30. I think 70% is the car. And that's why I think there can be a girl champion. I think the car makes up the difference, where in ball sports, it's not the same. But with dirt bikes, I feel like you kind of flip the script. It's probably a 40-60, maybe 70-30 rider. The rider's more important. It's the athlete is more important than the bike. And then it's probably 30% bike.
So a good championship rider could get on a slower, shittier bike and beat someone else?
Yes.
Because they're not giving it the full throttle.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's just the guys
so
more wide open.
Whoever's willing to go full throttle
wins the race, pretty much. Yeah, there's a lot to it, but yes, the athlete will make up the difference.
Yeah, because dude, I have ridden dirt bikes. Mm-hmm. I had dirt bikes when I was a kid, but I'd never get extreme.
Yeah.
Like the most extreme I'd get is, going off a jump.
Yeah,
I didn't even tabletop or anything.
So do you ride anymore at all?
No.
Just cars and stuff like that?
Yeah, I drive cars, have fun with that. But I got to get into some hobbies.
Yeah.
My hobbies have been building businesses.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so I'm not an adrenaline junkie. Like, I don't need to jump out of airplanes and go fast or anything of that shit. I'm happy right here, right now. Like right now,
cool.
This is going fast to me.
So what excites you is building brand, building businesses.
Well, but I also like dirt bikes. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. If you said, dude, we got a bunch of dirt bikes, let's go riding, and I had nothing to do, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go riding. But if I had shit to do, I'd be like, I don't need to go riding. And not only that, dude, I know what riding is for me. It's just like golf. For me, golf ain't that fun.
Same here. I can't get into it, man.
Yeah, but for me, it ain't that fun. Now, if I wanted to get really good, which I will one day, and I practiced my ass off, which is what it takes, and I got decent, where I'm shooting in the 65, 75 range, then it'd be fun.
Yeah.
But it's not fun when you go out there and shoot 120. It's stupid.
Yep.
And now I'm wasting my time. They're like, well, you got to get good. No. You got to focus, man.
Yeah.
And I don't have the time. Why? I got other shit going on. Like, I'd rather fish than golf.
Yeah, same here.
Now, I'd rather fish than ride dirt bikes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just like fishing. But you don't see me out there trying to win a fucking, Bassmaster 5000.
No.
Yeah. I mean, like, dude, that's like, you got to be a heavy duty fisherman to do that shit.
Yeah. It's always fun when you're good at it, I guess.
Well, you got to be good at it, and to get good, don't you have to practice a lot?
Practice a ton. Yeah.
So you fortunately had a lot of time on a dirt bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
People underestimate how much time these guys put into this shit.
Oh yeah. My son trains 6 days a week, all day, every day.
That's a job.
It's a job. It's a time.
That's how you become a champion.
It's how you become the best. It's a short window too. And the guys who win, like the Eli Tomacs and the guys who are on top of the sport right now that are winning, I mean, they're probably, 8 to 10 million a year. And, it's good money.
Chump change.
It's good money. And if you put it away, and do invest it right, you're going to be good. And that's the 10-year run of that, So you figure you could clear 30, 40 million by the time you're done. If you're a dominator, if you're one of the best,
Or if you latch on or build a brand.
Yep.
Because just think about it, dude. Mm-hmm. Had you had the business acumen back then, you could have started Monster.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Monster could be yours.
Yes, I know.
You'd be sitting here going, yeah, and then I started Monster, and it kind of took off. Like, what?
I know. The problem is, I think everything I wanted to build was like things that I think were cool, like everything around dirt bikes. The problem is with dirt bikes, it's a small community. Much as I think it's a big community, it's not, You look at the other communities that are, they're huge. There's much bigger communities like music and, other ball sports. I don't know. I think I just ran down the moto path for so long and I maximized it. It's like with my YouTube, we have over 1 million subs, but I think that's kind of the ceiling for dirt bikes. I feel like, what do I do next? And I'm coming out with some new stuff and I feel like I haven't really told anyone about it, but we're going down the path of, with the Metal Militia deal, like we're looking at doing some ARs, and I've always just enjoyed shooting and, like sportsman stuff. And I think that's, to me, is a market that I've always loved and been into. I thought it was cool, the firearm market, but I think I'm like, what is my other market, my other avenue for YouTube for, is it the family channel? Is it a gun channel? Is it,
dude, it could be open in toys.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's weird because like my wife, Marisa, we do all these videos of dirt bike. And then we do one video of my wife and she got a new Sprinter van, like those one decked out ones with like the kitchen in it and all the like limo black Sprinter van.
And it gets the most views.
Dude, it killed it.
See what I mean? You never know either. No. It's the craziest shit. Yeah. Dude, I only got 150. I don't know how many I got. Yeah. Maybe 150 subs. Dude, getting to 1 million subs on YouTube is hard as hell as it is. Yeah. No matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
So how'd you do that? Just constant content?
Yeah. So how it started was I was at the motocross races and a filmer kid that I knew did YouTube and he's like, why don't you guys monetize your content? I'm like, what is that? Like, what are you talking about? He said, hey, let me show you. So he posted some of our content on basically on YouTube and anyway, he was helping us post the content and he's showing me like, cause we at the time, I think you had to get to like 10,000 subs. So he helped us post content as it grew. He showed us how to monetize it. And I was like, once the money started, like I looked at it, all of a sudden, the money started coming in every month, like a little bit. It was like a little bit here or there. I was like, oh man, okay. Like I understand it now. He showed me this is the button you push, this is how you do it. And this is how many followers, whatever. So once we got to past that threshold, we started making money. I was like, dude, this is crazy. I guess you can just make money on this content like this. So we just said, let's go. And I just went, let's start posting more and more. And what I learned was with YouTube is just consistency. Like we just started posting one video a week, then all of a sudden that started doing good. I said, okay, let's add another. And then I studied it more. I ran into some guys, like Dixie D'Amelio, the D'Amelios, the girls that are the biggest girls on TikTok or whatever. So they reached out and they wanted to come do a video at our house. A lot of people, like we had the Kardashians at our house.
Is there like a bike trail?
Yes, there's a motocross. Yeah, it's kind of a known motocross facility, like and race cars. We do race car stuff off-road. So we had Bruce Jenner came over with, what's the one husband's name that, I don't know, the bad boy one. I forget his name, but he came over. They did race cars at the house. And anyway, Dixie came over and did some YouTube. And I just kind of grilled her team. Like, okay, how do you do this? What, kind of asked a bunch of more questions to like, how do we get to the next level? Because we're already doing YouTube. And they're like, you have to be consistent, post more content, and post on time. You have to do it the same time every time. I'm like, really? They said, make it like a TV show. So I'm like, okay. They said, all right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do your show at 3 p.m. on the dot. Don't be late, not a minute or second late. Do it at 3 p.m. on the dot. And so we started doing that as a TV show and promoted it like, hey, if you want to watch a new episode, this is your TV show time. It's like, why not do your own TV show series is kind of what we started doing. And then it started taking off. Then it started doing.
So what are the shows about? You just riding bikes?
Yeah, well, it's more about, our family doing things we do in between the riding, in between the races, and then also the races. Because we have a solid group that watches us that just loves watching the dirt bike stuff.
So is there like scripted reality going on? Do you guys ever say, hey, today I need you to get in a fight?
Honestly, we have never scripted anything as far as that, but that's we know where to find the drama. Let's just say that. Like, if my son is a menace sometimes, like my youngest, and he can get Marisa going, and we know like how to turn the switches if we need it, but it's all real stuff, Like,
how many cameras follow you guys around?
Usually with us, there's usually at all times one guy at all times. And sometimes if it's the races, we need a couple guys.
How do you mic up? Labs?
Yeah, just lobs, like, lobs on the shirts, or honestly, a lot of times just off the camera.
And then how long does it take to go home, edit it, put it up?
So if it's an important race, like if it's like people know it's a national and you're fighting all the other media's speed, right? Because they put it up before you and stuff becomes old. So if it's a race, we try to go home that night and get it up the next day. But if it's just us, doing life stuff during the week, that can be a week or two out. Sometimes we have 8 to 12 videos ready in line to post out. Like we'll be 2 weeks out.
How many people on your team?
There's, like I said, 3 full-time filmers and editors. There's an office in, Southern California where everyone works. And then we sub out filmers everywhere we go. Like if I'm going to Pennsylvania, we just do a post. Hey, we're coming to Pennsylvania, and filmers will come out and we'll just have them film. All we need them to do is know the sport somewhat, push record and follow us around. And they download that footage at the end of the day. They send it back to the office and guys start cutting. And that's so, we have tons of different filmers all over the place that we hire for part-time,
But it's paying off, obviously.
It's paying off. And I've thought about going full-time YouTube, but, I have a lot of other things going on. And it's by far the best network we have that produces the best results for business. It's definitely YouTube, because they don't really shadow ban it, like my Instagram account, dude, like once you start posting anything on certain political pages or whatever, your channel just goes, they just squeeze it down, and everyone knows that. And so you kind of got to decide, do I want to say like the things I want to say, or do I have to play the game? I don't know. I'm not too stoked on the non-free speech thing,
Yeah, it's not fair, but I keep saying, well, how come both sides don't have their own platforms?
Exactly. Why not? Why is there not a platform for, like,
and then people will say, well, there's Rumble and there's Truth but there's no one on them.
Why?
And when I say there's no one on them, there are people on them, but for some reason they're not the majority.
Not blown up.
No.
Why is
TikTok? I just got a warning the other day. I got 1.7 million on TikTok, 1.8 now.
Ah, good.
And I just keep growing on it, which is cool. But I put up a post that basically said, hire virtual assistants. Mm-hmm. You can get a virtual assistant out of the Philippines for like $150 a week, and they'll do whatever you tell them.
Really?
And people are like, well, what would they do? What do you mean, what would they do, you moron? Like, dude, you get them to do things that will generate you revenue, like such as prospecting, setting up appointments for you, identifying leads from LinkedIn. Like, tell them, go to LinkedIn and write down everybody that's whatever you're looking for. Like, dude, they can do whatever.
Yeah.
So it saves time.
Huh.
And I put that up on TikTok, and it was a great post, killer value. Mm-hmm. TikTok warns me and says violation. Took it down. I appealed it. Nope. Violation. I'm like, violation of what? I don't even know what I violated.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, I better just stop posting shit like that because I don't want to be kicked off TikTok.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It takes time. Yeah, it takes time to build those pages, and it does suck.
I want to be like Andrew Tate, dude, where you can't you can't take me off TikTok.
Yeah.
Like you might take me off TikTok, but you won't take me off TikTok. I'll be all over that bitch. Yeah. Because Andrew Tate's still everywhere.
He is.
And the reason he's everywhere is because thousands of people are posting him on social media.
Yes. No, I agree.
They can stop you from posting, but they can't stop thousands of people from posting.
I can't stop everyone.
I got a little plan I'm about to hatch.
Yeah.
Let's call it the Tate. It's called the Replitate.
Yeah.
I'm gonna replicate what he did.
Oh yeah. I think I'm
gonna put a public drive and I'm gonna pay people, incentivize them to go on my public drive and edit Brad Lee videos. Make them funny. Do whatever you want to do. Just take that footage, turn it into freaking posts and clips and post it for me and incentivize them somehow.
Yeah. What do you think what would incentivize them?
Money.
Yeah. But how? Like, how would that?
Well, like Andrew Tate did, he added a link to his Hustlers University. So if someone bought that from the video, they paid him.
Huh.
So people were making real money from posting his videos because he sold the Hustler University.
Yeah. Huh.
And then he's got like people like me now talking about it.
Yeah.
So like right now, like he might be watching this. Someone showed him, look, they're talking about you again, but he's got it going by the thousands, which is smart.
Yeah.
So like I always tell people, I love what Andrew Tate did.
Yeah.
Because they tried to shut his ass down, but they can't.
No.
They can't shut his ass down.
He beat the system for now, for sure.
For now.
Yeah, for now. Like
that's my dog. Yeah. So dude, I appreciate you coming up here.
Yeah.
If the bomb squad can do anything for you, what would it be?
Like I said, I listen to your podcast, and I think if anything, the one thing I want to learn more about.
Are you going to listen to this one?
Yeah, for sure. I listen,
I know, but you were here. Why would you need to listen to it?
I don't want to. I like to hear like kind of how it gets cut and how it
It does not get cut.
Really? Okay.
Dude, there is no editing.
Oh, really?
Zero.
Oh, great. All right. No, that's perfect. If anything, to be honest, like I thought about that, like coming here, the one thing I listen to your podcast a lot and I'm like in business, the one thing I want to learn more about is in motocross or in action sports, there really isn't guys get hurt a lot and they have contracts. Usually contracts last about a year or two. And in your contract, it usually says if you get hurt, you have about a month or two before you can come back or you start not getting your pay cut, And so I really would like to figure out how to do a disability insurance for athletes. And I think that would be important,
And that can make you a billionaire right there.
Yeah. And I really like to figure that out because I've been hurt many times and it gets to the point where you just quit getting paid after 3 or 4 months. Your sponsors quit paying you. And if you have a family and kids and that's what you rely on, then that's why a lot of people are like, oh, don't ride dirt bikes. Don't do this, don't do that. Cause there's nothing to fall back on. I'd like to fix that, I'd like to figure out a way to have insurance, like a disability insurance for athletes, and I want to learn more about the insurance game. I listen to a ton of what you guys do and all your different guests.
Well, I'll work with you on that, but what can the bomb squad do for you?
I would say, really just, checking out our social and, jumping on our YouTube and checking it out and, see what you guys think of it, I'm always open to ideas and I know you have a huge following and really at the end of the day, it's just supporting my kids, our channels, our network is really what the Bomb Squad could do. I'd say, come in and support our channels and be vocal, man. Tell me what's going on. If you guys, have any ideas, I'm always open for that,
And make sure you hashtag Bomb Squad so he knows where you came from. Folks, go to shopdeegan38.com. Follow him at Brian Deegan38 on Instagram and all the other social medias. If you Google him, you can't miss. He's got 1 million articles and definitely appreciate you swinging by. Yeah. I'm going to have you back. I know you got a lot more stories.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
Folks, as always, till next time, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Brad Lee. Subscribe now.